I had went to the final meeting, or the meeting, they had a joint meeting, the council and the park district. Again, I think there's many things that can be done to the lakefront property to enhance it. I will agree with the present park district commissioner, Mr. Kinney. Had said that a lot of those things are doable, and I think there's some things that probably should have been done many years ago to enhance the overall look. We're looking at money. The park district doesn't have money. The city doesn't have money. And again, I think if we can bring in a private public partnership to do some of the projects they are considering, I think there's a possibility. But again, I think you always try to be realistic, but also optimistic. That I think some of the things can be done, but it's going to be many years with the economy going on. But I think around the Nelson Park basin and that, there's a lot of things they can do to enhance that, to make it more attractive to not only the local residents, but to bring other residents in. But the key is funding, and that's as Mr. Kinney said, and I'll agree with it. There are some things that are doable. Others will just have to be put on the back burner as the time progresses, and if any businesses want to step up to help us.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Lewis?
Well, my opinion is that lake is one of our absolutely most valuable assets in the city. I can't think of another city that has a lake right in the middle of town that offers the recreational opportunities and living opportunities as well too. Most of the lakes in surrounding communities are kind of on the outskirts of town, and you have to drive out to them. So we need to do everything we can to make that and maintain it as a viable place. Yes, the funding side of it is going to be a little bit complicated, but we have to keep in mind that it's a very long-term plan, and it's not like we will ever get into the situation where we will get to this point of no return. The way the whole deal has been structured, at least to this point, from concept through all the public meetings and a tremendous amount of feedback, is that we're going to take very smart little incremental steps in order to attract the outside investment. And I think that's a very smart approach on behalf of the city, the park district, the planners. I mean, I'm no expert in lakefront development, what works, what doesn't, so I sort of have to defer to the whole process on it. But in my opinion, the process thus far has been top-notch. I support it 100%, and quite frankly, I can't wait to see some movement on it.
Mr. Lewis?
Okay. I have not studied that issue as closely as I perhaps should have, but my biggest concern there is that if there were any the privatization thing would be my stopping point. I think the lake should be very much public space, and any privatizing of any of the lakefront anywhere beyond what it is right now, I think that would be a wrong way to go. Access to the lake and as a recreation and fishing and all the various other things that people like to do. If we begin to develop condos and other various private things in that area, I just think that's the wrong way to go. And as far as the funding of it, I believe the park district already did slip through a $4 million bond issue here not too long ago. It was a very small notice in the paper. So apparently they're figuring out a way to move ahead, at least with partial funding of this. So as I say, I'm sure there's some very good things about it, but as far as any sacrifice of public space to private space, I'm firmly against that.
Okay. Mr. Lewis, we'll start with you. What the garbage, the change in the garbage rates and the change in the garbage pickup system and all that, and the recycling plan will be in place before you guys come into office, whoever gets elected, but just barely. Do you foresee making any changes in that plan after you're elected?
I think it's still all yet to be seen. If you remember sort of back what happened, I want to say September, October, the manager came to the council with a plan that obviously everybody kind of sent back and said we need to go back to the drawing board on this. Came back in December with a revised plan. It was a difficult negotiation between the residents and the garbage haulers, and the desire of everybody to sort of come together. But what we did do was make sure that once this program is up and running, that we take a very critical look at it in, I want to say it's 3 months after April 1st, so that we can make sure that everybody's needs are being addressed, that the rates are not out of line, and the garbage haulers are doing their jobs and being compensated for it as well. So, it's yet to be seen. We'll have to kind of see what the feedback is at that point, 3 months down the road.
The part I particularly liked about it was the recycling, the revision in the recycling process. It appears it's going to be a lot easier for people to recycle. Instead of having to sort things, you just kind of throw it all into one bin and go from there. I did sign up for that. The pickup intervals is a concern of mine. I think there was a letter to the paper, in the paper today, about somebody saying, well, those cans are going to be sitting out on the curb all week long and they're going to blow in the street and all this kind of, very, which is a legitimate concern. So that in my mind is kind of a wait and see how that goes kind of issue. And then the yard waste, there are an awful lot of people I've talked to say we ought to still be burning instead of picking up yard waste, but then that's kind of a by the boards sort of issue there. But the hardest part I've found so far, I tried to call my garbage hauler today, and I got a busy signal for 2 hours in a row trying to tell them what I wanted to have done. So I think if there's any improvement there, there was the thing that went out, there was no return address, no envelope. I suppose you can mail in your request, but whether it'll get to them by April 1st or not, that remains to be seen. So I'll keep trying to call my garbage guy and make sure he knows what I want. But overall, I think it's a pretty good plan, but I think like any good plan, there should be room for revisions in it as time goes by, just to make sure it's working right.
I had to chuckle because I walked into the mayor's or the city council mayor's office area, and the assistant city manager said, "Oh, please don't have any questions about the garbage," and which I did. I think it was probably some things that needed to be done. I think the council needs to realize, and I know a local media person, why are people get upset about this? Anything the council does that affects the citizens of Decatur, the small things, the day-to-day things, really affects them, and they're going to be really upset if there's changes. Again, you can't get everybody to agree. So I think in the future, I think when the city manager presented his first proposal, again, I don't know whether he ran it past council or what happened there, but that was disaster. If you're going to make changes in anything basic that the citizens use on a day-by-day basis, you really need to think it out. If you get people behind it and explain and up front with them, they're going to go along with it. And I think they made a problem there. And I think as a council person, I will be able, hopefully, along with others, hold it. Let's rethink this and think it out before we bring it to the public. I see a lot of positive things with the recycling. I have to be honest, I haven't recycled, but I've ordered my bin, and I will recycle. I think that 6 months down the road, I think that's a positive step for the council to look. They should almost do that on anything when it affects the citizens in this way. I think they were a little disingenuous when they said that it would cut down the trucks on the road to just 2 times a week. Well, that's wrong. They have garbage pickup, and then they also have leaf, yard waste, and also the picking up of the recycled. So again, I think you have to be upfront with anything we do, and I support some of the things, but again, I want to look at it if I'm elected to the council in 6 months and get a lot of input from both sides, the citizens and the garbage haulers. We don't want to lose any of our garbage haulers. We want to make sure they're happy. I don't want to go to 1 or 2 garbage haulers in our community. So again, there's some positive steps. But again, it goes back to leaf burning. Little things affect the community, and you better think them out before you present them. And I hope in the future that we redo that on these type of items.
Okay. To wind up, just take a minute or two and let us know why voters should vote for you. Mr. Lewis, I think you're up.
Okay. All right. I think I offer a little different perspective. I have lived and worked in this community for off and on for over 40 years. I have been in the service of the public for 25 years at Sears and deal with all kinds of what appear to be very little minor problems. People, wanting to buy the right item. So I think I over the years I've learned to listen to people, find out what they want, figure out how to help them solve the problem, or at least let them know that I have a concern about what they want to do. As I say, this is my very first venture into any sort of political activity. I'm learning a lot of lessons, both the hard and the easy way. I had a short conversation with Mr. Osborne from the Tribune today. He asked pretty much the same question, and my answer was, well, when you go to the polls, there are an awful lot of people who will look at the ballot and want to write down none of the above. Well, if they don't want the above, then I am also a choice. So I'm one of three vying for the same opportunity, and like I say, I would hope that people who know me would vote for me, and those who, based on the input they're getting here, would at least think in that direction and give me a shot at this opportunity.
Okay, thanks. Mr. McDaniel?
Well, I have, again, deep roots here in the community, family, friends. I plan on keeping my roots in this community. When I retire, I'm going to stay here in Decatur. And I want to make sure that as other citizens that call Decatur home and have a deep love for the community, that you want the best. And I think I can offer a perspective of in the community to represent everyone on the council, to look at things at a realistic way. Again, sometimes I believe in councils kind of, maybe again from my standpoint of watching it as a reporter, maybe they don't look at all aspects of angles to doing decisions. I'm a team player. I will work with other council members to make the decisions to move this community forward, and not only looking at the future, but at the present. I live here now. I want the best for our community now. This is that's very important. Sometimes we always talk about the future, but we forget about the present. That hey, we live here now, and we want to make the community better for the future, for future generations. But again, I want to encompass making the community better today, and look at opportunities that will improve the community in the future and help hopefully get more residents to move into our community. That's very important, not only from a tax base prospect, but also from government help. The more population we have, the more federal and state aid we get. So again, I care about the community. I plan on retiring here, and I want only the best. And I hope the voters will realize that.
Thanks. Mr. Lewis?
Well, the way I see it, it's really sort of less about my opinion on the individual issues. It's more the opinion of the citizens that a council person represents. I hope to bring my finance background, education, 15 years of working, managing, for-profit entities, budgets, people, vendors, contracts, attorneys, you name it. Hopefully I can add an aspect to the council in that regard. Well, once again, we're not too far off here. We all want nothing but the best for the long-term viability of Decatur, because if somebody doesn't step up now, it could very easily go into even a worse tailspin than we've seen over the last 20 years. I'll be the first to admit I'm not an expert on council, municipal matters, but every Thursday I learn something new, and over the course of the weekend, by Monday night, I've learned something else new. I just like to take the time to understand all the issues, to know the background behind them, and make an informed decision. And finally, I guess I should probably say that I've made the decision to move back to Decatur. I plan on being here for a very long time, and I just hope that we can turn this city in the right direction.